The 8 News Now investigators on the case of a city councilman in Henderson being sued for predatory payday loans across the country. These are not criminal cases against the councilman, Dan Shaw, but the allegations are enough to get the attention of 8 News Now investigator Kyle Paine.
What can we do as a community to make it affordable for our workforce?
Henderson City Councilman Dan Shaw.
My estimation, this is probably the most critical committee that we have right now.
Championing the cause of the working man.
This community has a critical need for workforce housing.
All part of being an elected official. Along with the hand clapping, handshaking,
we pray that our leaders will lean on
and head bowing you might expect from a city councilman. But what you might not expect is 2 federal class action lawsuits brought by members of the public who say Shaw and entities run by him and a business partner have been preying on consumers. The federal suits basically say the same thing, that Green Arrow Solutions, managed by Shaw and Greg Jones, charged over 700% interest on payday loans, small loans with notoriously huge interest and cutthroat collection tactics.
All members of council voted in favor of the motion made by Councilman Shaw.
The 8 News Now investigators attended the most recent Henderson City Council meeting after Dan Shaw ignored 3 separate requests for an interview, one by phone, one by email, and one through the city spokesman. But after the meeting, we found Dan Shaw trying to avoid us, but he ran right into our camera and microphone.
Want to know if you have any comment on the lawsuits or the case in Massachusetts? I just have a couple questions for you.
But Dan Shaw wasn't answering any questions. We heard from his PR person who basically didn't confirm or deny anything. Leaving us back here in Henderson at a commercial building where Dan Shaw used to have an office. He's not here anymore, and the property manager says he's been gone for some time. Court documents back that up. And from here in Henderson, the paper trail takes us all over the map. Following the trail of Shaw and Jones' payday loan businesses is difficult at best. One plaintiff is in Massachusetts, the other in Indiana. Greg Jones lives in Colorado, and they have a partnership incorporated in Delaware, other subsidiaries in North Logan, Utah, and registered agents in Reno. But the trail also takes us to California, Lake County, a few hours from San Francisco, to the Big Valley Band of Pomo Indians. And that's where the story gets good. The lawsuits say Green Arrow Solutions purports to be a tribal entity, but isn't. And Green Arrow can skirt state interest rate caps, usually around 12%, and charge up to 750% interest, making a $500 payday loan a $1,700 repayment, with stiff penalties and collection tactics, all in the name of the Pomo Indians. There is no state license, just this little certificate from the tribe.
Hey, Kyle, this is Ben Ray returning your call, and I wanted to get back with you. I apologize, I've been so busy. I'm always so busy.
Tribal Administrator Ben Ray, not too busy for a well-worded no comment.
If you're looking to get any other context, which I'm sure you probably are, you would have to look to Dan Shaw or somewhere else, but we here at the tribe would not be providing any more context for that story.
Back here to Henderson and Dan Shaw, who has a long history of civic service.
All members of council voted in favor of the motion made by Councilman Shaw, and it carries.
And litigation as a civil defendant in Clark County's 8th Judicial District. Some 30 cases against him and his business holdings for breach of contract, non-payment of loans, debts, failure to pay employees, and other commercial wrongdoing. Not to mention having owed millions to the IRS. Kyle Paine, 8 News Now.
Of those litigations against City Councilman Shaw settled out of court in January, this one in Massachusetts may have been settled, but lawyers have about a week longer to submit that paperwork to the federal court there.
On the lawsuits or the case in Massachusetts? I just have a couple questions for you.
There is no running from the 8 News Now investigators on the trail of a Henderson City Councilman accused of using Native American tribes to charge huge fees for payday loans. Now, we examined those lawsuits in depth last night here. Well, tonight, 8 News Now investigator Kyle Paine is digging deeper into it and explains how to protect yourself. Kyle?
The 2 federal class action lawsuits against Henderson City Councilman Dan Shaw and his business holdings very clearly accuse the company of hiding behind a Native American tribe in California to skirt state law.
Rent a tribe.
Rent a tribe. Legal aid of Southern Nevada consumer protection attorney Peter Aldis says using tribes allows companies to charge desperate borrowers exorbitant interest rates.
Just have a couple questions for you.
The same thing Henderson City Councilman Dan Shaw and his loan company, Green Arrow Solutions, are accused of in 2 federal class action lawsuits.
So it's just the idea that the tribe itself isn't really involved in the business. They are just allowing use of their name to a business that's otherwise totally unrelated so that that business can claim the sovereign immunity protections of the tribe.
The tribe in this case is the Big Valley Band of Pomo Indians in Lake County, California, a few hours from San Francisco. The tribe had no comment on the lawsuits except to say that one of them is already settled, but that doesn't answer whether they're involved in these loans.
The definition of a predatory loan, a loan that you don't think that the borrower can afford to repay, and you're still going to make money giving that loan anyway.
And the collection practices
are very aggressive, very, very aggressive.
Aldis says these loan companies are notorious for charging your bank account even if you don't authorize it, racking up overdraft fees and leaving the vulnerable borrower broke, in part because instead of charging state-regulated interest rates, usually around 12%, these loans charge up to 750% interest, making a $500 payment a $1,700 repayment, leaving the borrower with very few options.
Closing your bank account is the #1 way to stop those debits.
The silver lining is these companies very rarely sue to collect these debts. That subjects them to state courts, which would not protect them from what they do under the name of the tribe.